Hello, today I'm gonna try to restore a Puukko knife which I came across laying on at the bottom of a toolbox in the shed, and the contents of the toolbox was pretty rusty and gnarly, so I was surprised to find a knife even in this good condition in that particular toolbox. As you can see, this knife has had its better days really. There's a lot of corrosion, and also there is some really serious dents on the knife, or cracks. You can see it's cracked right here, the edge. I'm just gonna turn the camera down towards the floor so it's easier to see the amount of damage this knife has to sustain. So you can see that there is a definite crack here, and probably the owner of the knife attempted to use it as a screwdriver, and since this type of Puukko knives are usually made out of very high carbon steel, so they are sharp, but they're also frail, so you shouldn't try to do too much bending with them. And in fact, I have here another knife which almost looked as bad as this one at one point, and I managed to salvage that, and you can see that it came out quite nicely. This one here is Iisakki Järvenpää manufacture. So I'll just seat this knife into this small clamp here, so I can get the good stick nice and firmly. The handle is really nice on this one, so I don't want to damage it, so that's why I put this old glove in between. I'll now proceed to start cleaning off the blade with this steel brush. The good thing about using a brush like this is that this really doesn't generate too much heat, so I won't be destroying the knife blade by getting away with the temper, because these knives have been tempered and as any knives, and if I heated up the blade too much, then the temper will be lost and the knife will essentially be ruined. So even if it's looks like there's a lot of work to be done, you still have to proceed careful with this, otherwise I'll just end up ruining a perfectly good knife. I can see that there's corrosion marks are pretty deep, so I have to change tactics and use a more sandpaper, rotating sandpaper grinder instead. So I've done a few minutes of grinding, and we can see that there's more and more healthy metal iron coming through, and we can see the extent of the rust damage on the blade. All in all, there's some deep pits here, but they are not that bad. In fact, they just maybe even give the knife a bit of character, so it's not bad at all. Now, as I have cleaned this blade out, I can see that there's a clear inscription in the groove here, and it does in fact state that this is a Iisakki Järvenpää knife from Kauhava, Ostrobothnia, Finland. This is the moose Puukko, or elk Puukko, moose Puukko which was specially made for hunters, and there's still a similar knife being sold today with the same name, but they are very much more different than this, because this is, I think this is, as I said previously, that this is probably from the 50s or maybe even the early 60s, so the knives have changed a bit since then. You can see that there's the burnt in figure of a standing bull moose on a bird. Then for you viewers, but it's the same, it looks like the same handwriting, and I would guess that these two blades have been etched by a famed etcher, a woman by the name of Ellie Lindholm, who had a very long career indeed. She was in charge of etching the names on most Iisakki Järvenpää knives for a period of around 50 years. So now I've done a grinded in the new profile of the blade. As you can see, it's a bit, you know, it tapers down or narrows down towards the tip a bit more now than previously, and by doing so I've been able to get rid of all the nicks and whatnot damage on the blade. And as you see, there's a lot of thick material here which needs to be corrected. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna proceed with grinding it on a whetstone, and then gradually move on to a more finer grade whetstone, and finally start polishing it with smaller handheld whetstones, and see if we can manage to get a proper blade on this knife. At this stage I only use water as lubricant. Just lay it flat on top. I can see here's the old bevel, and touch that, so I'll just lay it flat there and I'll start moving it around. This really is time consuming when you have a good piece of carbon steel like this. It's really hard, and it takes a while to reduce the edge down to where you want it, but I think I'm almost there now. Start feeling the there's a definite edge to it, so there's still a bit here to be worked with, but I'm pretty much done. Just a few minutes more and it's time for the next stage. Native to Finland. It's a type of fillets stone, and it's only found in a small area here in Finland, and it's been this area has been known for this type of fine rock, which has for centuries been used as a sharpening knives and axes and such. So I think this is about 1000 grains, so really nice and fine stone, and gives the knife blade a really good finish. And in fact, if I think back when I learned some basic skills of my grandfather in sharpening tools, he essentially only stuck to using a whetstone like this, unless the knife was really dull. Then he would turn it over a grinding wheel first, and then apply the whetstone on it. And those were basically the only two stages he had. He often used the leather strap even, to finish the whole knife off, to remove the burr from the blade. And that's pretty much what I've been doing all these years. I've been sticking to the same method my granddad used, and I still find that, you know, you can get a very decent blade just using these simple methods on a old carbon steel knife. I'm gonna stick to this bill which I have, because I know that this steel is really hard and it can even withstand a very, fine blade. Typically, maybe I think a 20-degree angle on the blade is a good angle, so that's a good bevel. But I'm just going to set this at the same angle of as the original bevel is, and we'll see how it will perform. At this point, I'm just really being careful about not pressing too hard on the stone when I'm grinding it. That just will give it a really nice, fine finish. The only thing left is to get rid of the burr, and for that I'm just gonna take this bore with a piece of leather glued onto it. The leather like this. You can even do this with a leather strap. Do it a few times, so you can be sure that it should be got rid of all the burr. Oh yeah, that really feels sharp. Just picked up a small piece of firewood. Let's see how the blade will work on that. Yes, good. Oh yeah. Ooh, cuts like butter. Oh wow, that's what I want to see. See, no issues there. Now the twist test. Oh yeah. Well, here. So this is the end result of the project. This has really turned out to be a very beautiful knife. I'm still gonna put some oil on this handle to make it look better, and you can see that there's most of the corrosion was on the left side of the blade, and there's you can't really do anything about these marks. They just seem to add more character to the knife, so I don't mind them being there. This side of the blade was much better preserved, and even so that you can still read the inscription of Iisakki Järvenpää, the maker of this blade. Here, in addition to this knife, I have a few more, which I've found and restored over the years. Well, these are the ones which I've been left with. Here's the knife I was comparing it with. All of these knives are have the same thing in common, that they're all made by Iisakki Järvenpää. Here's one. You can see that it's been well used. Just a simple birch handle, nothing special there. Still as sharp as ever. And there's again the inscription by Iisakki Järvenpää. This leather sheath, however, is not made by Iisakki Järvenpää. This is a martini sheath, and I occasionally come across leather sheaths which are made by Martini, and I pick them up, and the reason why I do pick these up because they are of such a uniform size that they'll pretty much fit any traditional Finnish Puukko. So same thing goes this is also a Martini sheath, and it also fits currently an Iisakki Järvenpää Puukko. This is again an Iisakki Järvenpää Puukko, but I think this is a special knife, as this is as you can see that the material on this handle, front part of the handle, is something else than brass or copper. I think it's actually a lead or some other inexpensive metal. And these are interesting because these started to occur around the 1940s during the Second World War, when there was a shortage of metals, of valuable metals in Finland, so all copper and all finer metals went to the war industry. So knife makers weren't left with the cheapest and the worst quality metals. So there's a little bit of history with this knife. Also, the handle is made of very nice burly birch. See, it's very nice birch burl on the handle. And the sheath is not standard either. It seems to be made by someone else than the knife maker. But this is also Iisakki Järvenpää knife. Again, another Iisakki Järvenpää knife. I remember finding this and just paying €2 for it. This is a very old Iisakki. I think it is from 1920s or 30s. You can see the handle is very crude. It's not formed as well as later handles. It's not as the knob here or the pommel is not as pronounced, which indicates it's an older knife. Or then it's just been reworked. Probably a piece broke off and it was reworked by the owner. But still in good working order. And you can see that the blade has been reduced quite far, but you know, it still is a very working knife, even if there's less steel on this than on many other knives. In fact, if you use this for carpentry and whittling, the thinner blade will work better than a wide one in some projects. Again, this sheath, again, it's not Iisakki Järvenpää sheath, it's probably Martini again. Then we have another Iisakki Järvenpää knife, a nice Puukko. You can see it's the tip has broken off, and I had to rework it quite a bit. And by comparison, you can see that the tip was approximately almost a centimeter longer than it's now, this current version. Still, it's really a working blade, and I use this knife a lot as well. A very nice Puukko. Simple and functional. And the sheath is interesting. It's just riveted together of two pieces of leather, and there's this simple loop, belt loop, the back of it. A lot of history here. A lot of interesting history. A lot of Puukko history.